Welcome back. My name is Zulisa, founder of Research Proposal and Thesis Consultancy, and today I'm going to do something that no other academic writing service will do. I'm going to show you exactly how we write a research proposal from scratch, chapter by chapter, element by element, the exact structure, the exact formulas, the exact approach that gets proposals approved. Not because I am trying to teach you to do it yourself, although that is completely fine if you want to, but because I believe that when you understand how we approach this work, you will understand exactly why our proposals get approved, and you will understand exactly what the difference is between a proposal that passes and one that keeps coming back. Let us begin. Before we write a single word of your research proposal, we do 4 things. Thing 1, we review everything you have already shared. Your topic, your university's guidelines, your supervisor's previous feedback if you have any, and any existing work you have already produced. Everything matters. A supervisor comment from 6 months ago might reveal exactly what they are looking for in Chapter 1. We read everything before we write anything. Thing 2, we conduct a literature search. Before writing Chapter 1, we search Google Scholar for the most recent and most relevant academic literature in your specific research field. We are looking for 3 things during this search. What has been studied, so we know what to include in Chapter 2. What has not been studied, so we can identify your specific research gap. And what theoretical frameworks other researchers have used, so we can identify the most appropriate framework for your study. This literature search typically takes between 2 and 4 hours, depending on the complexity of your field, and it is the foundation of everything that follows. Thing 3, we identify the research gap. The research gap is the most important element of your entire proposal, not your topic, not your methodology. The research gap, because the research gap is what justifies the existence of your study. Without a clear and specific research gap, your supervisor has no reason to approve your proposal. We identify your research gap using a specific 4-signal system. Signal 1, aging literature. If the most relevant studies in your field are more than 5 years old, there is a currency gap, an opportunity to update and extend the research. Signal 2, context gap. If existing studies have been conducted in the USA or Europe, but not in South Africa or Eswatini, or in the private sector but not the public sector, there is a context gap. Signal 3, population gap. If existing studies have examined managers but not frontline workers, or urban populations but not rural ones, there is a population gap. Signal 4, variable combination gap. If existing studies have examined leadership and performance separately, but not leadership and performance and retention together, there is a variable combination gap. Once we identify which signal applies to your topic, we have your research gap, and we use it to build everything that follows. Thing 4, we confirm the topic at PhD or master's level. Before we write, we confirm that the topic is appropriately scoped, researchable within the time frame, and aligned with what supervisors at their level and institution expect. If we need to refine the topic, we do it before writing begins. Now we are ready to write. Chapter 1 is the chapter that determines whether your supervisor reads Chapter 2 with an open mind or with a red pen already in hand. It is the most important chapter in your proposal, and it has 7 mandatory elements in a specific order. Element 1, the background of the study. This is not a general introduction to your topic. It is a contextualized account of the specific situation, the specific environment, the specific conditions that make your research necessary. For a South African study on leadership in public hospitals, the background would draw on specific South African healthcare statistics, government reports, and recent news to paint a picture of the specific context in which your research will be conducted. Specific, evidenced, contextual, always. Element 2, the problem statement. This is the most important single paragraph in your entire proposal. We use a specific formula for every problem statement. Despite what existing research has found, limited empirical studies have examined your specific gap within your specific context, a gap that has resulted in specific consequence, and that this study seeks to address. 1 sentence, 1 gap, 1 piece of evidence, 1 consequence. 1 sentence, 1 gap, 1 piece of evidence, one consequence. If the problem statement does not have all three, it will be rejected. Element 3. The research objectives. Every objective uses an analytical action verb to examine, to assess, to determine, to evaluate, to identify, to compare, to establish. Never use to understand, to look at, to explore, to find out. And every objective follows a specific formula. 2. Analytical verb, the specific variable of specific group within specific context. Element 4. The research questions. Every research question corresponds directly to one objective per research question. No more, no fewer. If the objective is to examine the relationship between X and Y in Z, the research question is, what is the relationship between X and Y in Z? Same elements, different format. The objective states what your study will do. The research question asks what your study will find out. They mirror each other exactly. Element 5. The significance of the study. 3 types of significance, every time. Theoretical significance, practical significance, and policy significance. Most students write 2 or 3 generic sentences. We write 3 separate paragraphs, one for each type, each specific, each evidenced, each connected to the research gap. Element 6. The scope and limitations. What your study covers and what it deliberately does not cover. Why certain decisions were made. Geographical scope, time period, population size, and what the known limitations of your study are, not as weaknesses, but as honest boundaries that define the rigor of your research. Element 7. The chapter outline. A brief statement of what each subsequent chapter covers. 1 sentence per chapter. Clear, specific, structured. Chapter 2 has one purpose: to build the academic argument that justifies your research gap, not to summarize what other researchers have found, to synthesize it, compare it, evaluate it, and use it to demonstrate that your specific gap genuinely exists in the academic literature. We structure every chapter 2 in 3 movements. Movement 1, what we know. The broad existing literature on your topic, summarized and synthesized, not described one source at a time. Movement 2, what we do not know. The specific gap, the specific context, the specific variable combination that existing research has not addressed. This is where the 4-signal research gap we identified in our pre-writing process is presented academically, with references confirming what has been studied and what has been missed. Movement 3, the theoretical framework, the specific theory or theories that explain why your research gap exists, and that will guide your entire study. For a study on leadership and retention, the theoretical framework might be Transformational Leadership Theory by Bass and Avolio, because it explains the mechanism by which leadership behavior influences employee commitment. We identify, reference, and integrate the theoretical framework at the end of Chapter 2 as a bridge between the literature and the methodology. One additional critical requirement for Chapter 2, every source must be from the last 10 years, 2015 to 2025 prioritized. Every source must be peer-reviewed. And every source must connect directly to the research problem stated in Chapter 1. If a source does not connect to the research problem, it does not belong in Chapter 2. Chapter 3 is the chapter that most students find most intimidating, because it requires not just describing what you will do, but justifying why, with academic references, for every single decision. We structure Chapter 3 in 5 sections. Section 1. Research paradigm. We identify whether the study is positivist, interpretivist, or pragmatist, and we justify the choice with at least 2 academic references, explaining why this paradigm is most appropriate for your specific research problem. Positivism for quantitative studies measuring objective reality. Interpretivism for qualitative studies exploring subjective experience. Pragmatism for mixed method studies where the research question determines the method. Section 2. Research design. We identify the research design, case study, survey, phenomenological, grounded theory, ethnographic, or experimental, and we justify why this design best answers your specific research questions with references. Section 3. Population and sampling. We identify who your participants are, how many, and how you will select them, and we justify the sampling strategy with academic references, whether purposive, snowball, random, stratified, or convenience. Section 4. Data collection instrument. We identify what instrument you will use: semi-structured interview, structured questionnaire, focus group, observation, or document analysis, and we justify why this instrument best collects the data needed to answer your research questions with references. Section 5. Ethical considerations. 5 elements, every time. Informed consent, anonymity and confidentiality, data storage and security, ethical clearance, and do no harm. Every element addressed specifically, not generically. Once all 3 chapters are written, before we deliver to you, we run a coherence check. 5 questions. Question 1. Can we state the research problem in one specific sentence with a gap, evidence, and a consequence? Does every source in Chapter 2 connect directly to the research problem in Chapter 1? Does every research question in Chapter 1 have a corresponding data collection method in Chapter 3? Is the theoretical framework clearly referenced and connected to both the research problem and the methodology? If a reader only read Chapter 1 objectives and Chapter 3 methodology, would they see a clear direct connection between the two? All 5 must be yes before the proposal leaves our team. If even one is no, we revise before delivery. This coherence check is the final layer of quality control that ensures every proposal we deliver is structurally sound, not just well written. That is exactly how we write a research proposal from scratch. Pre-writing research, gap identification, topic confirmation. Chapter 1, 7 elements in specific order, problem statement formula, objective formula, 3 types of significance. Chapter 2, 3 movements, synthesis not description, theoretical framework as bridge. Chapter 3, 5 sections, everything justified with academic references. Coherence check, 5 questions, all 5 must be yes. This is the system, and it is the system that has produced approvals for 2,000 students across South Africa and Eswatini since 2021. If you want this system applied to your specific research topic, your specific university, your specific supervisor, send approval to +268 7959 3760 on WhatsApp right now. Or visit researchconsultancy.lovable.app for your free personalized quote. Tell us your topic, your level, your university, your deadline. We will have your quotation within 30 minutes and your writer assigned within 24 hours. Subscribe for tomorrow's video. Tomorrow I'm going to talk about how we handle rejected proposals, the exact diagnosis process we use when a proposal comes back, and why we fix the root cause rather than the symptoms. I will see you tomorrow.